And good morning. Welcome to Hot Seat. I'm going to get to have some fun this morning. The Director of Digital Communications at Griffin, Ryan Welton.
Hey, nice to be here.
It's good to see you. All right. So we may have done this one time before, back when COVID was raging, but it's good to have you on today.
Thank you.
I want to ask you some questions because there's so much news about Mark Zuckerberg taking on Elon Musk. But let's set the stage here about talking about digital and news. Where do most Oklahomans get their news?
It largely depends on what type of news you're talking about. Are we talking about national news? Are we talking about local news, political news, news about the weather, sports news?
Let's just say it's coffee break time and I want to go get my news. What does the data say I do?
Well, the data says that locally, news about Oklahoma, it's still going to be local TV. Local TV news still rules. But everybody has a Facebook. Everybody has a smartphone for the most part. And so largely the preference is to go to digital. But again, it depends on what type of news you're talking about.
Okay, so what you just said is television still is ruling. In whatever market it is, whatever station, it's still number one. But how much does this factor into it?
It factors in quite a bit. And just a little bit of data for you. Almost 3 billion Facebook users, active users per month. 2 billion for Instagram, and that's going to be important when we talk about Threads here in a minute. And Twitter. While they only have a little more than 400 million active monthly users, it's a very fervent news consumer that's on Twitter. So, pick your poison in terms of which platform you prefer. But whether it's local TV news or digital, if you have a smartphone, you have access to local and national news.
Okay, so what you just said is you have a smartphone. So if you don't have a smartphone, you can't get it on the digital news aspect. So let me just go a little bit farther. We hear a lot about journalism having difficulties, papers having difficulty staying in paper, paywalls, all of that sort of thing. But I use Twitter to get my news together. And there's so much news on Twitter, for example, I can't read it all in the day. I might have to go to an app, a Read Later app.
Right.
So what is it? Is there not enough news, too much news? Where are we at with the media hype?
Well, it's funny that you talked about the Read Now or Read Later sort of model. Twitter has largely, and this has been for many years, been the place where you go to feel smarter or to have a laugh, one way or the other. And that's why you see different voices, serious journalists and comedians, thriving in the same space. Is there too much? I don't know. I think for the individual who is fervent in their news consumption, they can latch onto a specific station, a specific newspaper, a specific website, a specific journalist, and really go for a deep dive in the type of news that they like on Twitter. And I think that's largely the thing that people loved about Twitter.
All right, in my hometown, you can't get the newspaper anymore. All right, and so I'm not sure that everybody understands the digital revolution that's happening. Right. So if you're, like Johnny says, the crowd that goes to dinner at 4 o'clock, which would be my age group, if you're wanting to understand how to get into the digital aspect and get more news digitally, what's the first thing you need to do?
Well, I think there's a large group of people who would say, well, latch on to your station's Facebook page. But I would say go to their owned platform and download your favorite news app. Of course, I'm going to recommend the News 9 news app. But whatever it might be, that news app is probably going to be your home base. That's where I would start. And if you happen to be a more savvy social media user, maybe then there is a Facebook, a Twitter, or now Threads.
Okay, a good segue.
Right.
So there's been a lot of hype this week. There's always a lot of hype around Elon Musk, okay? He bought Twitter. It's probably worth half of what he gave for it now. And this week, Mark Zuckerberg launches Threads. What is Threads? Why is there so much hype about it?
Threads is largely a clone of Twitter. It's a little bit different in that you're allowed 500 characters worth of space. Now, mind you, if you're a Twitter subscriber, Twitter Blue subscriber, you get a lot more than that. But it's largely a clone, but that has some of the aesthetic and some of the feel of Instagram. It's supposed to be a kindler, gentler version of Twitter.
And Twitter can be nasty. Okay,
it sure can.
It really can, but they can get into some. A lot of people get out there and they just get mercilessly hit. All right. Some people are calling Threads the Twitter killer. Agree or not?
I agree. Based on what we've seen in the first day worth of downloads, I've seen anywhere between 10 and 22 million users in the first 12 hours. And I should note that Meta launched this a little bit early, and I think that was on purpose. And it gained a lot of buzz on Wednesday night when it first came out. And given that you have upwards, let's say it's 22, let's say by the time that we get to the start of next week, it's 50 million users. That's still significant. There are only 400 million Twitter users, active monthly users per month. And Threads would already be 1/8 of the way there. That's pretty big.
It really is. Now, let's go back. I don't have a MySpace. I never had a MySpace page. Right?
I remember MySpace.
3 years ago, with Too Much Aplomb, Clubhouse came out.
Right.
It was audio. Then Twitter followed with Spaces. These audio platforms, podcasting went down. It's coming back up. Do you think Threads is here to stay? Will it impact the digital news world?
I do, and I'll tell you why. And I'll just go back to Marketing 101. Where was it that Burger King would always build? Where McDonald's is? What about CVS and Walgreens? And I don't know who comes first, but they essentially scout out the other. And one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg has done geniusly is to mimic other platform functionality, whether it's bringing in or taking what he knew about TikTok and making that Reels. I think this is largely the same thing that he's going to be doing with Threads relative to Instagram. And mind you, there's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp is huge also. And then you'll have this. I think that Zuckerberg and his rivalry with Elon is such that he will refuse to lose.
Okay. Now, with all of that's been said, and you brought up TikTok just a moment ago, and there are a lot of people in the government want to put it to sleep. We had Colin Walkie on about a month ago talking about privacy. As we look into the future about digital platforms, digital news, what trends do you see emerging?
Well, I think privacy is a huge one. I think that what they call permission marketing is first and foremost for any business and for any news entity. We want people's emails and information so that we can communicate with them, but not to usurp their privacy and spread that out to other people that they don't want that to have. So I think privacy is first and foremost. I think niche news and being very specific with your favorite reporters and your favorite topics is going to be huge. And I think that is a reflection of the consumer just getting smarter and smarter.
Okay, the audience is getting older too. Okay, as is all of society in the United States, around the world, in China as well, when they're dealing with those sociologists dealing with those particular problems. What is the news business going to look like in 5 years?
I personally think it will look largely the same. It just will be more news and deeper news. So I would say that you'll have more choices. And I think that on topics of import to you, whether it be money, health, crime, weather, political news, sports, you'll be able to go deeper and deeper.
Will Facebook and its offshoots like Threads, and Instagram, and wherever else they go, will they be around in 5 years?
Absolutely. And in fact, I think the only platform that I wouldn't be so sure about because of governmental regulation might be TikTok. But I think that vertical video is certainly here to stay. It's just a matter of, what comes next.
What is vertical video?
Vertical video is Facebook Reels. It is video that you watch, not horizontally like you do a TV, but vertically. It's the way most of the world watches video, believe it or not. It's Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, which are two different things, and then it's TikTok, vertical video, and YouTube Shorts.
Last, let me ask you this question. We've seen streaming come and go, all right? It went, Disney got into it, now they're trying to get out of it. We're seeing a lot of the platforms just not making money anymore. Right. We're seeing more people do cord cutting. How does that affect it? We started off talking about local news all over the country being local television news being the dominant thing. How is the market going to change as more and more people cut the cord? How does it affect the journalism that they're getting from local television?
Well, again, I think that going deeper on topics of import to the home user is going to be most important. I think it impacts the businesses who create this content more than it does anything else. At this point, I think Elon's philosophy is to make Twitter profitable. And I think he may end up being successful in that, but it could be to the result of 25 to 50% churn of his audience. So Twitter may become smaller but more profitable. But I think for us who do journalism, I think we're going to have to get smarter and go deeper on topics and write better, do better video, and just continually improve.
The competition will continue.
Absolutely.
Ryan Wilton, Director of Digital for
Yes.
Griffin Communications. Thanks for being here.
Very welcome.
Mom and Dad need to upgrade that smartphone. Okay. Hey, thanks for watching Hot Seat. See this again at news9.com/yourvotecounts, and follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and now Threads at Mitchell Talks.